Hey guys, so today we are going to be doing the typical 3 times speed summons on LF Super Saiyan 4 Goku's banner, and as that is playing in the background, we're going to be talking about a bunch of different stuff, but this banner actually, I think, looking back at everything that I've done in terms of summons in this game, this is probably the luckiest banner that I've ever summoned on for an LF, and you guys will see just how lucky I was. I mean, if you guys saw the live stream, when the banner dropped initially, I did a live stream. I got him to 7 stars on my live stream in 20k crystals, which is absolutely absurd. Think about how many pulls that is. You pull him once, he's at 2 stars, pull him twice, he's at 3 times he's at 4 stars, 4 times he's at 6 stars, and then 5 times at 7. I pulled him 5 times in 20k. That is very, very absurd. I think I did actually. Maybe I didn't. Maybe whatever. Just watch. I pull him. It's absurd how many times I pulled him. But we are summoning for 14 stars because of how lucky I was. So that is what this video is going to be about in terms of what's going on in the background. But for the discussion purpose of this video, I saw a lot of people asking me this on the live stream when I did my summons for Goku, which is why I want to bring this up. And I've been sitting here and thinking about ways that they could potentially solve the issue of balance in this game, which is, I feel like it's something that I talk about fairly often when I do these 3 times summon speed videos. Like, what else is there to really talk about, right? I mean, I think the most important thing to establish first, and I think most people do understand this at this point with this game, is that this game is not competitive. Like, it's not, this game was not designed to be a competitive game with any sort of competitive aspect to it at all. The game was literally designed with a rock, paper, scissors mechanic that will decide the game. Right? Rising Rush is like probably the most deciding factor on if you're going to win a match or not, right? If your rush gets gassed or if you guess your opponent's rush, that is the single biggest influential factor of whether or not you're going to win the match in most cases. And I feel like a game that is designed to be competitive initially or innately is not going to have a mechanic that is, I guess, that caters towards non-skill as much as that does. That's not even everything that, determines whether this is a competitive or non-competitive game. We also have things like feint in the game. We have things like paralysis in the game. All of those factors go into the camp and support the fact that, or support the opinion that this game was never designed to be a competitive game. And I feel like people don't understand. I mean, a lot of people do understand it at this point because it's just so obvious, right? But a lot of people also don't still understand this. Like, they're playing the game and they're like, oh my god, like, why don't they nerf feint, or why don't they nerf Rising Rush? And it's like, yeah, ideally if this game was meant to be competitive and designed to be competitive, then they wouldn't have those things in the game. But the fact that it was actually like a base mechanic that existed in the game from the get-go tells you that their intention was never to have this game be competitive. So I think it's better for people to sort of get into the mindset of this game is just not ever going to be a competitive game, which is fine. It's just more so meant to be some kind of game where you jump in for fun. You use the characters you want to use. It doesn't really matter who who's strong, who's not strong. And that's just sort of the mindset that I feel like the developers intended for the players to have as they played their game. Unfortunately, that's not the way people think about this game, right? I mean, you jump into PvP and you can see it instantly. I mean, 80 to 90% of the teams that I fight are top meta teams, right? You have Sun Family, you have Android, you have Regen. So a lot of these teams, you see the same units over and over and over and over again. And I feel like that's the developer's fault for not promoting diversity in the meta and diversity in the game. And on top of that, that then compounds itself on the fact that the new units that they're releasing just are not competitive with those consistently good and the best units. And that's really the problem that I want to address in this video. It's been, I don't know, let me actually look. let me see here. It has been, yeah, okay, this is what I thought. It's been 7 months, 7, over half of a year since Zenkai Gohan and Zenkai 18 came out. Keep in mind that Zenkai 18 came out a week after Zenkai LF Gohan. So it's not like, Zenkai Gohan came out and then a few months later 18 came out. They both literally came out a week apart. So it's been 7 months since they both came out. And I feel like they're the two, to this day, they're still the 2 most oppressive units that you will run into in this game. There's a bunch of other units that I think are in the same camp as them, Like, initially it was them two on their own, right? There was no one else that was even remotely competitive with those two units. And then we ended up getting Zenkai Super Saiyan 3 Goku, the purple one. Then we ended up getting Zenkai Blue Bardock. Then we got Zenkai Red Gogeta. And then we got Zenkai Super Saiyan 3 LF Goku. And then it's basically those 6 units. And what's funny about is that they're all Zenkais, right? None of the, I would say, best units in the game are LFs. Well, obviously Gohan's an LF, but he's also a Zenkai unit. All 6 of those units. So let me just recap again. We have LF Zenkai Gohan. We have LF Yellow 18. LF Zenkai Yellow 18. We have Zenkai Purple Super Saiyan 3 Goku. We have Zenkai Red Super Gogeta. We have Zenkai Blue Super Saiyan Bardock, and we have Zenkai LF Super Saiyan 3 Goku, the green one. I feel like those 6 units are pretty much in a class of their own in this game. I mean, you could potentially loop in units like Blue Trunks, the Blue Super Saiyan 2 Trunks in the future. You could potentially loop in Namek Goku, the Zenkai one, if you're really good with him. But still, those are both Zenkai units, and I feel like every other unit in the game is probably just not on the same level as those units. And that's, you know, a problem that's existed for a long time, which is fine. I mean, you're going to have problems in the game. The game was not designed to be balanced or competitive in that way. But I feel like this hurts the game in the long run because of the fact that for the past 7 months, there is no sort of like way to counter this other than playing those units yourself. Like it's like the saying, if you can't beat them, join them. And that's why for the past 7 months you queue into PvP at a high level and you're seeing the same 5, 6, 7 units every single match, and it just gets boring in my opinion. It's just like, do I want to really fight the same 5 to 7 units every single match? Some people might find it fun. I personally do not. And when you're taking a look at the new LFs that are coming out, keep in mind LFs are way harder to get than Zenkai units. Like, for instance, Yellow 18. Yellow 18 has been in this game since like the 2nd month of its release. Yellow 18 was on like the 3rd banner ever. She was on the 2nd Ultra Space Time banner. The first one was the Red Super Saiyan Goku, Blue Pan, Green Piccolo, and Purple Scouter Vegeta. That was the first Ultra Space Time banner. Then the 2nd banner, I believe, was the Yellow Frieza banner. It was Yellow Frieza, Green Ginyu, and Yellow Gohan. And then the 3rd banner ever was Red Trunks, this Yellow 18, and then the Purple 17. So Yellow 18 has been in the game for pretty much 2.5+ years now. Probably even longer, a little bit longer than that. And she is like, you know, a top 2 unit in this game, at the very least. So she is very, very easy to get. Then they also have the missions where you can get Zenkai units for free. So these units are just very accessible to most players, which is why you see them so often in PvP. And in the meantime, they're releasing, let's just take, for instance, the Super Saiyan 4 Goku, right? Super Saiyan 4 Goku came out a week ago, maybe less than a week ago when this video is going live. This Super Saiyan 4 Goku is not a bad unit at all. He's actually quite good. But keep in mind, he has a 0.5% pull rate on his banner, right? And I would argue he is not even in the same stratosphere or hemisphere or realm or whatever you want to say. He does not hold a candle at all, even at 14 stars. Not even close to as good as those 6 Zenkai units I talked about. You know, Gohan 18, Super Saiyan 3 Goku, Bardock, Gogeta. He's not even like in the same 4 tiers. He's not even remotely close to those. It's like not even, you can't even talk about him in the same sentence as those Zenkai units I just talked about. So that's really where I think the big struggle comes into play in terms of the developers and how they're struggling to quote unquote balance the game. So I think even though their philosophy going into you know, how they wanted to portray the I guess design of the game, and you know, we don't really want it to be competitive, we just want people to use who they like to use. And it's like, I would like to use this Super Saiyan 4 Goku. I would like to use LF Rose Goku Black. You know, all these LFs that are cool to use and fun, and they're supposed to be fun. And then, you know, you run into these Zenkai units that just like it's basically like they suck the fun out of the game, because you're like, okay, cool, I'm gonna take my Super Saiyan 4 Goku into PvP, and it's like, oh, he just gets one shot by Gohan. Okay, well, I guess that's it. I want to take my Rose Goku Black into PvP. Oh well, I guess 18 is just gonna kill him in one hit. Oh well, right. So it does present a problem, even though you technically, quote unquote, shouldn't care about balance, right? That's the typical argument that people use. You shouldn't care about balance. Well, you kind of are forced to care about it when it prevents you from using the units that you want to use, and it prevents you from having fun in the game, right? Like, for instance, my favorite team is LOE. It's not a surprise, right? LOE has been like criminally underrepresented recently in this game, right? I'm actually gonna pull up the tag real quick because it's actually like the tag's actually unplayable at a high level. At a high level of PvP, you can't actually play this team, otherwise you're just not gonna win. But they Zenkai the yellow Frieza, they Zenkai the red metal cooler. I actually think they did a really good job with the Zenkais, right? That's how I think Zenkais should be. In my opinion, this is how the power level scaling should go. It should go, LFs are the strongest, right? That's how it should go. And then number 2 are new sparking. So, you know, units that come out with LFs, units that come out on the Legends All-Star banners, I feel like they should be second in command to the LFs. And then number 3, behind LFs and behind the new sparkings, there should be Zenkai units. So Zenkai units will be quote-unquote the weakest of those units. And that makes sense because it's the they're the easiest to get, right? You mean you just buy the missions, you summon on their Zenkai banners, it's guaranteed. And you know, congratulations, you have a Zenkai unit. Yeah, it's annoying to soul boost them, and they need to do a better job of providing Zenkai souls. But I think overall, that's how the hierarchy of power should go in this game. That's just, you know, what I think. And then, you know, in association with that, the yellow Frieza and red metal coolers really do fall in line with that hierarchy, I think. So they did a good job with those. But the thing that made me upset when they released those LOE Zenkais is the fact that Blue Trunks literally came out like a week before the yellow Frieza did as a Zenkai unit. And Blue Trunks is on a team, the future team, that is way, way, way better than LOE. They already had a set 6 units you could always bring into the fight. They have a large roster. You know, they have a bunch of LFs, a bunch of really, really powerful units. You have Cell, Green Goku Black, you have Vegito Blue, Purple Vegito. Like, all these units are crazy, crazy good already. And I would argue the team really didn't need a boost at all from a Zenkai unit like Trunks. And Trunks is arguably a top 8 unit in the game or something, right? So they gave Future Trunks, and then they gave LOE Yellow Frieza and Red Metal Cooler. So it's like, which team really needed the help, right? It's kind of a weird decision. So it seems like sometimes they really do care about balance, and sometimes they really don't care about balance. So it's kind of like, it feels to me like there's just, I don't know, there's a disconnect, and there's just inconsistencies with the way that they're designing the game. And I'm actually in disbelief. I cannot believe that 7 months later, I'm still sitting here talking about, you know, how overpowered LF Zenkai Gohan is and how overpowered Zenkai 18 is. Like, I can't actually believe that they haven't done anything about this. Like, they just actually don't care. But I was thinking, like, sitting down and thinking to myself, like, how could they actually fix this problem? And because, you know, you can't, I mean, at this point it's pretty apparent that they're not going to just nerf these characters. I think they would have already done that if that's what they wanted to do. And then that also presents a whole lot of other issues too. If they were to nerf a character in this game, like for instance, think about if they were going to nerf Zenkai LF Gohan, right? If they were going to straight up say, like, okay, we're going to, you know, lower his stats, or we're going to, you know, decrease the effectiveness of his unique abilities, or whatever they were going to do for the nerf, that would, like, really, really discourage people that invested a lot of time and resources into getting this character to, like, not summon or play the game anymore. So I feel like that's a reason why they probably wouldn't nerf the character. And there's a lot of other reasons as well. I mean, I don't really know what goes into the decision-making process behind choosing to change a character that exists in a game that's like a gacha game like this. I don't think it's illegal to do. Other gacha games before have nerfed characters, so I don't really think anything would be technically like against the law or illegal or anything like that. But it's just in terms of how it would affect players' mindsets around that is the problem I think that they don't want to really touch on. And the other problem is if they were just going to continue the power creep route, right? So for instance, when this Gohan came out and this 18 came out, if they were going to keep creating characters that were just better than these characters, and then they just continued down that road of just like, okay, the power creep's steadily increasing, it's increasing, eventually that would just, you know, pretty much invalidate the other, you know, 100 plus characters in this game, because if you make characters stronger than Gohan at 18, like, they're already the best. What's going to happen to the rest of the game? That's, I guess, sort of the mindset that they had, and they were scared to continue the power creep in this game, which is a genuine, like, concern, right? I mean, that's a fair concern to have when you're developing a game like this, is power creep is a very big problem. And I think up until the 2nd year anniversary, we had a consistent issue with power creep, and they've sort of slowed that down a little bit. But you are seeing now the repercussions of not caring about power creep, right? Or not feeding into power creep. You're seeing the repercussions of not feeding into power creep. Is that the same 5, 6, 7 units are in every single match, and it's just like, okay, can we get something new? You know? So without I guess invalidating these units, because at some point you're going to have to invalidate every single unit in the game if you're going to continue down the path of being of power creeping the game. So the ideal solution to this problem is creating a solution to where you're not invalidating these units by continuing power creep, but you're also making other units viable options and creating alternatives to just using these same 5, 6 units in every single match. And then again, I think like you really don't want to create a situation where you're coming out with these really cool characters. I think like Super Saiyan 4 Goku, the new LS Super Saiyan 4 Goku, is really cool, and I really like using him. He just doesn't. He just can't compete with these Zenkai units. It's just the unfortunate truth in the situation. So creating an environment where characters like that can work without invalidating these other units. So recently I have gotten back into Hearthstone, and Hearthstone is a card game where there's a bunch of different sets. Let's just say that there's a bunch of different sets, and I'm going to try to explain the way they have this set up, because I feel like Legends could actually take a similar approach that could potentially work. The way they have their ladder system set up is they have 2 different ladder systems. They have one system where you could use any unit in the game, and there's no restrictions. You could just, put any card in your deck, and you just queue up, and you can fight any other deck that is any other card that ever released, throughout the game's past 6, 7 years of being in existence. There's also a second ladder system. So there's a separate queue for both of these systems. The second ladder system is only it only takes into consideration cards that released within the past year or 2 years. I think it's 2 years. So basically what happens is you can either build a deck that is focused on ladder system A or ladder system B, and if you want to use a card that released 4 or 5 years ago and build a deck around that card, then you would be subjected to only being able to queue into one of those ladders or one of those pools. And then the other one is if you want to just use cards that released recently and have a more limited more limited approach to what units you're able to use, but also what units you're able to fight against, then you would go into ladder B. So for instance, let's just say Legends were to adopt a similar approach to this, and I don't know, since the 2nd anniversary, right, you're only able to use units that released after the 2nd anniversary. That would be one pool, I guess. And then maybe every year there's a new pool, and then all the units that used to be in the limited pool then get shifted over, and then you could only use those guys in the ladder system A, where all the units in the game are in. So I don't know, maybe they could take a similar approach to that, and what that would do is eventually characters like Zenkai LF Gohan, Zenkai 18, and all those really powerful Zenkai units talked about earlier, eventually they would only be able to be used in the one ladder pool where you could use every unit in the game, whereas you have the new units that release, and you could use those guys in the ladder system B, where it's restricted to the newer units, and that would just sort of be like a season, right? So I feel like that's a good way to sort of differentiate what teams you're fighting against without restricting the player base too much. Because if you want to use your Zenkai Gohan, because there are obviously people who want to use Zenkai Gohan, there's a million teams with him on the ladder right now. If you want to use Zenkai Gohan, if you want to use Zenkai 18, that's fine. You would just have to queue up into the ladder that includes every unit in the game. Whereas if you wanted to, fight teams that don't have those characters on them, and you only wanted to be subjected to teams that have the newer characters, that are limited to the past, 6, 7, 8, 9 months of the game, and that's, characters that belong in that pool are only allowed to be brought into fights, then you could queue up into ladder system B, and then that would allow you to use characters without being, clobbered, like just annihilated by these Zenkai units. So hopefully I was able to explain that in a way that people can understand. So just to make things short, to TLDR things, if you guys didn't understand. 2 ladder systems, ladder system A, ladder system B. Ladder system A, you could use any unit in the game without any restriction. Ladder system B would be set up in a way that, you know, units that came out within a X period of time over the past, you know, 8, 9, 10 months or whatever, you could only use units that released in the past 8, 9, 10 months in ladder system B. So, you know, LF Super Saiyan 4 Goku comes out, you really don't want to fight against LF Zenkai Gohan. Once LF Zenkai Gohan rotates out of ladder system B and into ladder system A, you could then, you know, use him without having to worry about fighting those units. So I think that alleviates the problem with power creep, because they could literally never have to ever print or create a unit that is better than Zenkai LF Gohan to keep power creep at bay. Because all those units would just be playable in the ladder system that doesn't include those units in it. So I think that's a decent way to avoid those power creep situations. And then also a good way to make it so that, you know, you have actually like a fun experience fighting characters that you wouldn't normally see. Because if we keep going down this path, right, LF Super Saiyan 2 Go, imagine if the 3-year anniversary unit, I'm just going to assume it's Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, right? I mean, I don't know, but I'm just assuming, because they're building GT up for a reason here. Let's just assume that Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta comes out for the 3-year anniversary. Imagine if Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta comes out, and he's purple, and 18 is just killing him in like one hit. How would you guys feel if LF Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta came out and he just got absolutely crushed by 18 in every match? Would it feel good? But then the opposite is true too. Imagine if Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta comes out and he's like absolutely crushing 18 and Gohan. Would that be fun? That would just be the entire Vegeta Blue meta again, right? Where every single match is just, you know, that unit, and it's like the worst meta ever. Because I would actually argue that the Vegeta Blue meta was the worst meta we've ever had. I would say that. I would say for not even, I don't even think it's close. That was the worst meta we've ever had, the Vegeta Blue meta, where every single match was him. So we don't want that, and we don't want him to get clobbered by these Zenkai units. So they really have to be careful with how they balance this, and I feel like that 2-tiered ladder system where you can choose to queue into, you know, ladder A or B could really make the development process actually easier for them, and it would give you a choice as to whether or not you wanted to play in ladder system A or B, and then that would affect the environment that you're fighting in. So that's going to be it for this video. Let me know down below what you guys think about this. I mean, it's a very prevalent issue, and even though I feel like the developers never really wanted this game to be competitive, it sort of has to be competitive to make the game interesting. Because nobody's going to summon for like LF Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and he's just going to get instantly destroyed by these Zenkai units. It's just not fun at this point. After 7 months of this happening, it's time for a change. So anyway, hope you guys enjoy the rest of the summons, and I will see you all in the next one.